A young woman goes out for a jog and never comes home. Thousands of tips, and more than 2 decades later, the question still lingers. Where is Rachel Cooke? This is Unsolved. On a winter morning in Williamson County, a neighbor saw 19-year-old Rachel Cooke walk past their driveway, likely cooling down from her morning run. On break from college in California, Cooke ran the same several-mile route, often near her home, the home she was just 200 yards away from when she was last seen, and that was in 2002. Over the years, family and community members have held vigils for her. Law enforcement have searched. The FBI at times offering thousands of dollars in reward money in her case. And still today, authorities are pleading for information from the public. So joining me now is Williamson County Sheriff Matthew Lindeman. Sheriff, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
We know this is a case that is so important in Williamson County, and so you had a message you wanted to share for people.
It's a very important case, but all of those cases are very important to the victims' families and to all of us at the Sheriff's Office. And over the years, there's been tremendous developments with scientific technology that may help solve some of these cases. And we remain committed to using that technology to analyze existing evidence, as well as following up on new leads that might come in. And if there's someone out there that has information, no matter how important they think it is or it is not, we'd really appreciate if they would call the Sheriff's Office. If they want to remain anonymous, they can contact the Williamson County Crime Stoppers.
We know we're going to dig into this case with your lead detective here today, but is there anything else you want people to know as we look at Rachel Cooke's case?
We've, over the last year, we've really had a great amount of people supporting the Sheriff's Office and coming forward with information, not on just this crime, but other crimes. And we can't do it without the public support, and working with them, it makes Williamson County a safer place, a great place to live and raise your kids.
Sheriff, thank you so much for being here. And I know you've brought Detective Mark McKinney, who is heading up this investigation with your agency. And so just after the break, we will dig into the latest on the Rachel Cooke case with him. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Joining me now is Detective Mark McKinney with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We appreciate the opportunity to help keep this case in everyone's mind.
Talk first and foremost about Rachel. What do we know about who she was and the kind of person she was?
So Rachel was a 19-year-old girl. She was born and raised there in Georgetown. Mom was a teacher. She had recently moved off to California to go to school at Mesa Junior College. During the Christmas holidays, she returned to Georgetown to see her family. While she was there, she worked just off and on at the Wildfire restaurant in Georgetown, just to make a little bit of extra money while she was at home. She also was a long distance runner. She ran cross country, ran for extended periods of time around her neighborhood or wherever she was at. I believe she was probably going to run regardless. She was very well liked. All of her, I think everyone we've ever talked to have said that she never wanted to tell anyone no, and that she was just very friendly to everyone she knew.
Talk to us then about that day, January 10th. She's home from break. As you said, she is not going to stop her normal routine of running. What else do we know about what happened that day?
So that day, she decided that she was going to go for a run. Her parents left for work about 8 o'clock that morning, leaving her there by herself. Which was normal for every other day she had been home for break. She took off on her run. There was a neighbor that lived just down the road from her that saw her running back towards her house about 9:30 a.m. And she looked like she had slowed down to the point where she was probably walking back home, to cool down. and that's the last time that anyone saw her.
So when did someone realize that something wasn't right, that Rachel might be missing?
Her parents later that evening, I think they from the very beginning they felt like something wasn't right. Her dad mentioned that she had called him every day when he was at work during the day just to chat with him while he was at work, and she didn't do that day, which he thought was strange. And later that night, they started calling around. They called the wildfire to see if she had maybe gone and picked up a shift over there. That turned out not to be the case. And the following day, on the 11th, at about 3 p.m., they were worried enough that they went up and reported her missing.
It's just a nightmare for so many families, but such a real nightmare for the Cookes. I do have to ask you, Detective, over the years, there's been some criticism, actually even from within your own agency at times, about how Williamson County law enforcement responded to the Cookes' concerns at that beginning point. What can you tell us about that, and has that impacted the investigation at all? Some of the early response to her potentially being missing.
So I think with that, the problem is that she's a 19-year-old girl. Those situations are difficult because a 19-year-old, we may still see them as a child, but they're legally an adult. They can go and do things as they please. They can make their own choices. And with that being said, in that particular circumstance, her parents knew her well enough to know that something wasn't right. But we obviously don't know that. We rely on them to tell us what those exigent circumstances are that require an immediate response. And in that case, I think I can't say for sure because I wasn't the one that spoke to them initially, but I can only assume that they probably just thought, she went to a friend's house, or she didn't want her parents to know she was talking to a guy or whatever it may be, and that may be why that it was seen initially as just, maybe just give it a day or two and she'll come back, but eventually it got to the point to where everyone realized we have a problem here, like something's not right. So that's kind of.
Give us some insight as a law enforcement officer, and as you noted, you weren't there at the scene that day. You joined the agency in recent years, but what must that be like when a missing persons case is reported? Not wanting to jump to the worst extreme, but also taking family concerns seriously. That must be a tough balance to strike sometimes, just generally as a law enforcement officer.
Yeah, it's extremely hard. You have to rely on the information that you're given by the person who reported them missing, or their family or friends, or whoever it may be. But you put a lot into that, or you take a lot from that, from what they tell you, because they're the ones that have to articulate to you why that person is in danger, and didn't just go down to see their cousin that nobody knows about or whatever. So it's definitely a tough balance, and that's really hard to make a decision on that.
Yeah. We know that early on that Cookes actually launched their own search, and kind of the community was driving some of the search for her early on. So many people from the community came out and have continued to come out over the years that we've reported on here at KXAN. It's not always that a case like that gets that much public attention. Talk to us about that, just the amount of care the community placed even early on in this case. How does that impact an investigation?
It definitely impacts an investigation by getting more resources, such as volunteers to assist with searching. But her dad was real big on getting her case out to the media. He felt like that would help find her. I'm by no means saying that's not a good idea. That eventually may be what helps find her. So we'd be thankful for that if that's the case. But it definitely impacts it, because people know about this all over the place. They're very familiar with Rachel's name, which is a good thing. But it definitely impacts the case because of just the amount of attention it gets, and whether it be good or bad. And we just hope one day that somebody might see one of these and say, I know where she's at, or I know who did it, or whatever.
I can imagine, though, early on in an investigation, that kind of attention it could complicate some details of the investigation. We know over the years there have been several, potential breakthroughs in the case that we covered closely. I know there were lots of reports of cars or people being seen in the neighborhood at the time. And then we'll remind our audience, by 2006, a man named Michael Moore actually confessed to killing Rachel and dumping her body. He later shocked a courtroom by pleading not guilty, and the case fell apart. So talk about that. I know the last time you were sitting in this chair with us, we were actually talking about a case that had a very public false confession as well. Give us some insight into this situation with Michael Moore in Rachel's case, and then how the public nature of some of these cases can potentially solicit false confessions.
Yeah, so that's definitely a negative that would be one of the negatives with the amount of public attention that a case gets from someone like Michael Moore, who might have just wanted some more attention or wanted to be seen as this big bad guy. The problem with his confession is once he recanted it, we couldn't corroborate his confession in any other way. So we were pretty much able to say, yeah, he was trying to make everybody mad in there that had put him in there, and he was just trying to play a big joke, I guess. Or that's what he saw it as.
Is he potentially still linked to the case in any way? Is he on a list of potential suspects, if you're able to share that?
Well, I can't share the list of suspects, but we can say that we can't eliminate anyone really until we can prove who did it.
Just about a decade later, there was another near break in the case. We know law enforcement were spotted searching for what at the time we were informed were potentially human remains in a part of the county. What was going on there? And talk about some of the searches for her that have taken place over the years.
Yeah, so we've done numerous different searches based off information that we received on this case, whether it be something we went back and looked at and went and interviewed another person and got some information that led us to that location, or it could be a tip that we were able to corroborate some of the information that led us to another location. But we've done a lot of searches. We've spent a lot of hours looking, and that's just, we're not going to stop until we do find her. We're going to continue spending those hours and all that time until we do find her and get answers. But to answer your question, we've done a lot of searches, and we will continue to do them.
You mentioned tips, how often tips can lead to searches like the one we're seeing here. I believe your office said that you've received more than 2,000 tips in this case. What is it like parsing through that level of information from the public?
It's a lot. We do appreciate the tips that we get from people, and we hope we continue to get tips from everyone. However, with the amount of tips, it can be difficult at times because every one of those have to be checked into, because we don't want to say like, oh, that couldn't have happened, and that ended up being what happened. So we don't want to overlook or move to the side any tips. So with the amount of tips that we get, that's the only thing that makes it difficult, is we have to eventually investigate every single one of those tips. So that can be tough, but we do want to continue receiving all of that information, because someday we hope it'll be the right one.
We know at some point tips may have led to a car being found in a different part of the state in Dallas. At the time we reported, there was possibly blood inside. I do think we have some footage of the day that was brought back here to Central Texas, but Talk about that situation. Is this vehicle still linked to the investigation? And this was just one of, as we've mentioned, several potential breakthroughs in this case.
Yeah, so that vehicle right there was based off a tip that we were working on at the time, and just like I mentioned, like every tip that we have gets investigated as thoroughly as we can, and we go as far as we need to with it. That particular vehicle was eventually found to not be associated with the case.
Another question we wanted to follow up on, in 2020, detectives released some new sketches of persons of interest or people that your agency just wanted to talk to about this case. At this point, we had not heard if those sketches actually, resulted in anything. So we'd love to ask if you're able to share if these are still persons of interest in the case, or if these sketches are still relevant to people sitting at home reading about Rachel's case.
Those sketches are still relevant to the case. I can't say if we've made any identifications from those sketches, but those sketches have been helpful. And if we could continue pushing the fact that we would like to identify those individuals in those sketches, that'd be great. We still find that those people are relevant to the investigation.
One of the biggest questions I think frequently in cold cases is the question of, did the victim know her potential abductor or attacker? I know over the years there's been speculation in Rachel's case. Is that something you have any insight that you're able to share, or is that still not something that this investigation has revealed?
It's not anything the investigation has revealed, whether or not that be true or false, as to whether she knew her abductor or whatever may have happened to her. But I can say that in my opinion, she probably knew or knew of the person, just due to the fact that the neighborhood was there was people at home. It was between 9 and 10 in the morning, we think, and there would have been people outside, and to just abduct someone in broad daylight in the middle of the day, and not one person see or hear the actual abduction itself, I would say that'd be unlikely. So it's not impossible, but unlikely. So that's why I really think somebody out there knows something, because we do think that she either knew them or knew of them.
What have been some of the biggest barriers, do you think, in this case in particular, in finding a resolution for her family?
There's really the same as any other cold case, as far as the barriers go. The lack of evidence and the lack of necessary information, the lack of a puzzle piece that might connect 2 or 3 different possibilities or theories. We really need someone to come forward with this person told me this, or I did this, because we really need that one piece of information to connect the dots and to make sure that we can actually figure out what happened and locate her for her family.
You mentioned, physical evidence there, and this is something we've talked a lot about on this show, but obviously the DNA testing and technology in general has made great strides since this case began. Is there anything you can tell us? Are there active, tests being done, whether DNA or ballistics? Is that something that's at play in this case?
Yeah, it's at play based off things that have been found from tips and other different things. We are actively working on some stuff in the lab right now. We, as you said, and as the sheriff mentioned, that the advancements in technology have gone through the roof, and we are utilizing those as we speak on this case.
Where does the investigation go from here? Obviously, the testing that's going on. Is there anything else you can share with the audience about how close your agency is to finally resolving this case?
we hope that we're close. We all believe that we're close. We think that we're on the right track, and we want everyone to know that we are still actively working on this case. This case is not sitting on a shelf somewhere collecting dust. We're working on it every day. We have tips that we need to follow up on as soon as I leave here, and we have something to do right now on this case. So as far as what's to come on it, we have a lot to do still. We're not at the end of the road wondering what do we do next. We have several interviews to do. We have those lab results to wait on, and we have any number of tips that are going to come in from now and then.
Detective, thank you so much for taking a break from some of that absolutely important work to come here and dig into the case with us, to look back at the case file. We so appreciate your time. Is there anything else on this you want to note for people before we let you go?
Just call us if you have any information. We'd love to hear from you.
Detective Mark McKinney with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Join us next week on KXAN Plus for another episode of Unsolved Central Texas. New episodes air every Thursday at 1. And watch any episode anytime. Just go to KXAN.com or look for the KXAN Plus Originals category on our streaming app. We'll see you next week.